Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2004 Disney Pixar animated feature film, The Incredibles. This is directed by Brad Bird. He's gone on to do a bunch of other stuff for Disney as well. This movie was unlike anything we've ever seen at that point 17 years ago. It's a long time ago. But this obviously spurred new interest within a animated superhero dynamic that has nothing to do with Marvel, that has nothing to do with DC Comics. It was then heavily featured. Well, The Incredibles 2 was heavily featured then with the Incredicoaster at Disney's California Adventure Park, which is still not open, but we must kill a virus before reopening parks safely. Obviously makes sense. So this film takes place in the 50s. It begins in the 50s and then it takes place in the 70s, basically. So Bob and Helen Parr are Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, respectively. They get married. Their friend Lucius, who goes by Frozone, they all have superpowers, right? So Bob and Helen's kids now in the 70s have superpowers. They have an old friend, Edna Mode, who is a fashion designer. She has created, or they have created, they never actually give Edna a pronoun, but we just assume Edna's pronoun is she, but we'll say they for the time being. They have created a bunch of super suits for all the different superheroes over the course of many, many decades. We know it takes place in the 50s because Edna goes on this rant about how no capes, can't have any capes because this person died in 57, this person died in 58. Why? Because of capes. And here we are years later, 12 to 13 years later, with their oldest daughter Violet in junior high, middle school. So she has to be anywhere from 12 to 13 years old. So therefore puts us within that, early to mid 70s bit. And it has that vintage aesthetic, which is pretty neat to see in an animated film. So what's the plot? The plot starts out in the 50s. Mr. Incredible is late to his wedding day with Elastigirl. His number one fan, Buddy, is causing chaos, has a bomb strapped to himself inadvertently. Mr. Incredible tries to save him, but Mr. Incredible is also trying to save this guy who's trying to commit suicide by jumping off a building. And then the guy, after he was saved, is suing Mr. Incredible for saving him because he says, "You didn't save my life, you ruined my death." And you're watching this as a kid and you're like, wow, like they're talking about killing yourself on a Disney film. Like, what is this? Like, took us by surprise. Very, very, very meta, very, very hardcore. And still, as an adult, 17 years later, I'm still blown away that they could, do something like that at 2004. So we flash forward after the wedding and superheroes go into hiding. Bob is now an insurance agent, and then that goes to hell when he, throws his boss through 4 different walls. But then there's this mysterious billionaire who is contacting Mr. Incredible to come to an island to see if he can, defeat this rogue robot who has defeated other superheroes, and they can't get a handle on this rogue robot. It turns out that Syndrome is behind all of this, and Syndrome wants to be the greatest superhero that ever was. Even though he was not born with powers, he still has all the money to make the tech to become the greatest superhero, and Syndrome is now Buddy, all grown up. Catches Mr. Incredible. Helen and the kids wind up coming. Jack, littlest guy, doesn't have any powers yet, so he's being babysat by Carly. And then we have the short film Jack Attack, which is one of the best Disney Pixar short films. Jack Attack, go check it out on Disney Plus if you still haven't seen it after all these years. So it's cool seeing the battles on the island. It's cool seeing the battles in the city, and then it's cool having the second film take place exactly where the first film stops. But it's been, many years since Incredibles 1 towards Incredibles 2. What is it, 14 years of film? But it's only been, it's a 0-second difference between when it ends and when it begins. It's a beautiful transition. So this film changed the game when it comes to sound in animated films. Like, they use race car sounds for these hovercrafts and like all of these things. The making of The Incredibles is a pretty cool thing because it was very different compared to Toy Story, Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo. And then you had Incredibles in 04 because Nemo was 03, Incredibles was 04, Cars is 05. We never talked about Cars in that franchise, but yeah, this was a game changer when it came to sound, when it came to animation, and yeah, long live Pixar. We just talked about how gorgeous Soul was. Cannot wait for more Pixar. Mucho mahalo.